So this is a piece that I'm working on. It's called the baby box. This is actually hardware for a cabinet pole. That started because I was having a hard time finding really beautiful, heavy hardware. So I started looking at home stores and then just repurposing them. I'm really into like monochrome tones. Like I love the really glossy material against this texture. A bag is, you're building a box, a soft box that you then wrap with the material, usually leather. And then you can see some of the hardware at the interior. This is called a stay material and it comes in different weights, and that's what creates the structure of a bag. Then it has this magnetic closure. And these are called gussets. These go into the side and you sew them in. And then your bag is complete. I love Python. It comes in this really, really long piece because it's the shape of a snake. One of the reasons that Python bags are so expensive is because you can only fit certain pieces within this shape. You know, so there's a lot of wastage in leather. This is calf hair. Isn't that pretty? I just love the color of it too, and if you touch it, it's really soft. Get a motorcycle jacket out of this. Ooh, so luxe. To do clothing, I also still like to play with different fabrics and kind of mix them with leather. So I think that's been really interesting, almost like layering them together, which I feel like is kind of unique since I have a lot of knowledge of fabric since I used to design clothing. I've been at this workshop studio for a couple of years now. This is my favorite place to be. I'm happiest when I'm working here making things. I have a mentor, Ben Liberty. He's been teaching me how to make everything for the past couple of years. He's a really spectacularly talented leather craftsman. So I just feel incredibly lucky to be working with him and learning from him. I think also for him to be able to pass down this knowledge so it doesn't leave with him. These are some of Ben's tools. These are actually for punching like the end and making these really beautiful round shapes. And they're actually from an old envelope factory. So they used to cut the tip of the envelope to make a really beautiful shape. But they're like really, really old tools. These are for curves, like drawing really perfect curves around on your patterns, as you can see the Ben's curves. You definitely use this to cut around the edge. This is a metal stamp I had made with my name in it, and I'll show you how I use that to stamp my name into the leather. Just leather stamp machine, so basically generates heat through here and through this metal and heats up your stamp. And then you can set the temperature to whatever degree you want. And then we just let it heat up, and then we can stamp it. When I land on my design, I have to then figure out all the different pieces that are going to go into the bag and what the measurements are to make the pattern. So this is kind of just my thought process, more technical on how to actually make it. This is the cover and the interior reinforcement, another reinforcement, and this is the cover that goes right here. So these are all of the pattern pieces that go into making this bag. Kind of crazy, huh? I didn't know that. And this is a pretty simple one too. The thing about the bags is it has the interior structure and then it has the part that you wrap around it. So like this goes with this. So this will be the leather on the outside, and then this is the interior. As you can see, this is lining material, and then this black is wrapped around the lining. And it's all just about layering. This is on the inside, this is the bottom. Oh. Yeah, this wraps around this piece here. So you can see it all layered up. I'm really into square box shapes right now, but you know, that could change. I could start doing very like organic soft shapes too. If you touch this, it's really soft. So whenever you touch a bag and it kind of has that soft feel, it has this foam on the interior of it. The thing that I also like about bags is I feel like it has a lot of longevity. This investment piece that you wear with everything. You do a lot of repetition and people like it. They like those iconic bags. Then they become classics. So this finishes the edges of leather, and it has all these different materials that polishes the edge. So you just pull this out, align your piece, press it under, down, and there you are. This is one of my chokers. This is one of my best sellers. And now I just need to finish making the suede interior that sits against your skin that's really soft. After I wrapped the stay material on here, around the curves, there's excess leather that I need to trim off so it's nice and flat. And then I need to make it flatter, so I'm just gonna hammer it a little bit. So then it becomes very, very flat. Just do the edge right here. This is my cutting knife. It's made out of steel. You don't use scissors to cut leather. You always use a knife. Leather has a thickness, but when you use a knife, you cut through the entire depth in one motion. So this is how you sharpen a knife. So you just put a little bit of stone oil, then you sharpen the knife. You don't press down, you just let the knife glide on top. And then you go back and forth until it's really even. You need to make sure your knife is very, very sharp, because if you cut with a dull knife, you could slip and cut yourself. So this is the interior of my choker. So now I just need to add suede to it. If the leather is really thin and kind of spongy, when you cut with a knife, it drags. So another way is a rotary tool and a steel ruler. Cut some corners. I hope you all see this. And that will be our beautiful, gorgeous lining. Glue the back of the suede. So bags, it's less sewing and mostly gluing and folding. And then we'll let that dry. So this one, I've already glued in my bottom gussets. So we can go ahead and sew them while we wait for that to dry. So I'm just doing a test piece to see how the machine is sewing. The most important step of making a bag is the last stitches. So if you mess up, you do all this work, and if you mess up that last step, it's kind of frustrating, yeah. I'm just marking how far to sew. Very careful and nice and slow. So you just walk it a couple stitches, and then you can start sewing. So now the bottom is sewn in. I also make a lot of belts. I hand placed all of these studs all the way around it. I think of it as my lucky belt. Alicia Keys wore it for a show, and they actually punched more holes in the belt so it would fit her. So I just love the fact that she wore it, and she's just such an amazing, talented New York City artist, so it makes me feel very lucky, like I'm somehow channeling her when I wear this belt. This is dry, so I'm just gonna find my center mark. When you're making a box bag, you have to be very precise, because the millimeters of your measurements really start to matter. So contact cement dries, and then it sticks to itself. So I'm just folding in to create this really clean, nice edge. Okay. And we just need to press it down, and then walk it all the way through. And it's very crisp and pressed. So then I just paint the edge with the glue. Okay, so we have to let that dry. Do we want to finish? I could finish the whole thing. It's going to take a little while, or I could just pretend it's finished and be like, and then it's finished. After it dries, I just need to scrape up the interior leather so the glue has something to hold on to. I'm pretending to cut. Okay. So that it tapers off to a really nice edge. I'm just going to go like this against there. See how it feathers off really nice? So that's why you cut it at an angle. Then you just lay this into the interior, so then it becomes really clean finished. And then I would add the rest of my hardware, like so, like that, and yeah, pretend it's done. And then I would take it to the store to display it flying solo. Let me know when.
Action.
Okay, so we just left the studio, and now York City, and we're gonna go to Flying Solo, where the collection is sold. We're here at Flying Solo now, and this is where I sell my work. At Flying Solo, we really want to support each other and other independent designers. Independent designers' work is very, very expensive because it's made locally or it's handmade, so not as affordable, but it's also really nice when you can save for one beautiful, really nice thing that you're going to love forever instead of buying a bunch of junk and just throwing it away. This coat, I really, really love this piece. It's from one of the designers at Flying Solo, and her brand is called Cliché. And it's a very expensive coat that I couldn't afford, but her and I traded pieces for it. So I gave her a bag, and she gave me this coat, and we were both really, really excited about it. Think about what you're voting for with your money. At the end of the day, what you purchase, you are saying like that's what you believe in. When you really think about how things are made, honestly, if it's a very inexpensive product, it probably has a very dark story behind it. When you buy from independent designers, you know exactly who it came from, who made it, how it was sourced. You're supporting all these businesses that are local. So even though it costs a little more, it's a much more special piece, and it has a really meaningful story behind it. Yeah, just think about, it's important how things are made, I would say. Yeah, think about that when you buy something.